So, Mark, did you see that video of the person driving down the freeway past Bali Hai golf course and the golf ball just came and hit them? That golf course has been there forever, and I don't think I've ever heard of this. That's a great shot.
Yeah, great or terrible. One of the two. I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to like reenact Tin Cup where he wins the driving contest by hitting it down the road. Maybe that like longest drive.
I don't know. I think they should win a prize. Best golfer in Vegas. Spiegelworld has been making waves in Las Vegas for a while. They also bought the town of Nipton, and now they are opening disco show at Linq. And this is a disco inspired 70s show. You're standing in the middle of the floor. You got the concert. They also opened a new restaurant and 2 new bars along with it. And the menu at the restaurant seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, the menu looks a little bit different, kind of like a unique take on diner food and all of that. So I think that part looks interesting. The show, I guess it's unique. Like it's kind of like the Tony Tina wedding type thing where you're a part of the show a little bit, but not as much, and you don't eat while you're there. You're just standing there. But I guess it's kind of like if you wish you lived in the 70s disco days, or maybe you want to go back to that for a bit. It's kind of something unique and different, and I wish there was like a dining and show aspect to it a little bit.
I think it's cool that they keep coming up with these weird concepts. But yeah, it's different than anything else you see. It's not this huge production show, and it's more intimate in the way it does it. Diner Ross does seem interesting with the classics. I mean, some of the things on the menu are like a dirty martini bib salad with martini olives and Roquefort, French onion soup and mac and cheese in one dish, a bavette steak and duck fat fries. I'll take that. Steak and duck fat fries. Those are good.
Yeah, the first one, I don't know. That seems like a lot of. It's like those KFC bowls where they just threw everything they had in the kitchen together and called it a meal. I don't know. It's a little bit weird.
But the space looks cool. It looks very 70s. It looks very disco. And this is the old sportsbook area in the Linq that we have talked about before. So it's good to see this finally opening and Spiegelworld getting some more traction after they recently had to close down one of their shows. The prices also aren't terrible. $69 to $99 depending on the night for the disco show. That doesn't include the restaurant or food or anything like that. But, you know, it's a good time and not too expensive compared to some shows in Vegas.
Yeah, the key is some shows in Vegas.
Yeah. Well, shows everywhere, right? Ticket prices
Yeah,
are insane.
true. Very true.
So some interesting news came on the north end of the strip at that Riviera site. We previously talked about how Fontainebleau is buying a small portion of the site, but we learned more about what's going to happen with the rest of the site. This is right next to Peppermill in front of the convention center, and it's sort of the strip frontage where the Riviera used to be. They're going to build 2 600-foot towers, or at least they're trying to, and they got preliminary approval for that. So hopefully we'll see that. One's going to be a condo tower, another a hotel tower, and they're going to have shopping, dining, all of that sort of stuff. They were asking for all sorts of waivers, like half the parking spaces that the code requires, no landscaping, all kinds of stuff like that. But it does seem like they might get approval for this. They also said they're going to build a 439-foot amusement style ride. What could that be?
Yeah, I don't know, but it sounds cool. Something, what we've talked about, we've lost a bit in Vegas, maybe bringing a bit back of that whimsy, kind of like the adult theme park type of thing. So I'm interested in it. I don't put anything past these guys. I think that they can pull it off because they might be the sharpest business people on the strip. They bought the land and then sold the bad part of the land back to Fontainebleau for like, what was it, like 70% of what they pay, something crazy that makes no sense to anybody. So I'm like, hey, these guys must know what they're doing.
Yeah, and they've developed other properties on the strip as well. The first phase will have the first tower, the condo tower, and then there'll be a second phase as well. I do suspect that they can pull this off, and I think having more towers on the strip probably a good thing. It's interesting, the amusement style ride. We obviously had a whole era where those things were built and then they weren't. Remember, Neonopolis sort of announced recently that they're going to have a bunch of amusement rides going in there with a polar coaster, which is a several 100-foot tall coaster going in. But Crash and Burn was part of that, and we haven't talked about it on the show, but Crash and Burn actually closed for a while. And then they just announced they're reopening on Fridays and Saturdays. That's the bar in Neonopolis that's supposed to have the skydiving. That's still delayed. They're still waiting for parts, apparently, from what I've heard. So, that didn't go so well. So who knows about the future of amusements in Vegas? As somebody who loves theme parks, amusements, 439-foot tall amusement ride, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think I'm curious to see what it plays out or how it looks, and I hope it goes through. And I think this is like a good fit for the area. We've talked about how it isn't super walkable down there. It's growing, and and you have, Resorts World, Fontainebleau, stuff like that, but there's still a lot of pockets of, emptiness and, not a lot of shopping or anything like that. So I think this would be a good fit. I think it fills in the area nicely.
Yeah, and the amusement isn't the center of it. And New York, just look at that roller coaster. It's been printing money since it opened. So, it's not the centerpiece, but it does drive a lot of revenue. And I think some people are opening their eyes to that. So it's not like they're building a whole amusement park. This will just complement the property. And it'd be nice to see something go in there. And, that'll help Fontainebleau, help Resorts World, help Circus, bring more people down to that north area of the Strip. What also could do that is the arena project. We've talked about AllNet forever, and this is the former Wet n Wild site. But this week, Intuit Dome opened in Los Angeles. That's the new home of the Los Angeles Clippers. It's a $2 billion arena, and this place is insane. It has a 44,000 square foot screen on the inside that goes all around the arena on both sides. It has 3 times the bathrooms of any other arena, meaning you can get from your seat to the bathroom quickly and back because there's no lines. And the reason I'm bringing that up is you should see it. It's crazy. But that arena project, LVXP, that's now been proposed for that site where AllNet was proposed, the designers are the same. ACOM is the company that's supposedly going to design it. So maybe we'll get an Intuit Dome on the Strip for our NBA team.
Yeah, I still think T-Mobile's the way. I know they won't allow it or whatever, and I know in the show notes you put no T-Mobile, we need this or whatever. And it feels very Vegas-y, very LA-y too. I love the extra bathrooms. That's the biggest problem whenever you go to a sporting event is the restrooms and the lines. The moving to the screens everywhere, I don't like that as much. I feel like people just sit, especially upper deck. Like I've been to the Dallas for Cowboys, but it was for a college football playoff. And you're sitting up top and you end up watching the screen more than you do the field. It's just like your eyes are naturally drawn to that. Is that going to be the same case here? If you're not like down by the floor level, do you just watch the screen? And then what are you paying this money for if you're just basically watching it on TV to be a part of the atmosphere? I don't know. I feel like it takes a bit away from the game. Even if you try to watch the game, you just naturally start to look up.
Better than paying $5,000 to see the back of people's heads, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I don't know. I think this looks incredible. And I think it is an example of why T-Mobile isn't sufficient enough for an NBA team. If you look at the level of quality here, remember it was built on the cheap, $350 million, I think, with mostly MGM funds, but all private funds. And it doesn't really have the level of technology that a new NBA arena like the Intuit Dome would have. We don't know that they would spend $2 billion. Steve Ballmer privately financed this for the Clippers. Vegas doesn't have that, but we have a lot of screens around. So yeah, let us know. But it's kind of exciting to see what is possible for these new arenas. Of course, there's also that competing NBA proposal for south of the Strip, that $10 billion project that's supposed to be mixed use with a casino. We haven't heard anything about that in a year. So it'll be a while before I think we learn anything. Probably not until the NBA officially announces a team for Las Vegas, if they do. So let's hold our breath. All right, Mark, let's move on to this. You've been waiting all week to talk about this guy. It went viral all over the internet. Every Vegas account saw this, I'm sure, on Twitter and every other social media platform. And then it went wider and more viral beyond that. The guy who went to the Palms Seafood Buffet. We recently talked about how the price increased significantly, especially on the lobster buffet. And maybe this is why this guy grabs a bunch of lobsters just so he can get engagement for social media, fights with the staff, throws a lot of it away, and it pissed everybody off.
Yeah, I wanted to do the whole show on this because it upset me. I've never hated somebody on social media as much as I hate this guy. Like deep seated, if I see him, I'll want to punch him type of hate. I mean, I won't, probably not. But no, this is like the worst thing of social media, especially TikTok. And we talked about this on the 20-minute travel briefly on last week's episode. And just like TikTok drives this, like it's a sickness almost. Like people do all this crazy stuff, sometimes risk life and die trying to get, the shot for TikTok. And this is all filmed around like, oh, let's be over the top and get people mad at me. And then, oh, they'll be on my side. And this guy has like, what, 1.5 million followers, I think you said. I hope everybody unfollows him and this sends a message like, you can't do this type of stuff. You can't go in and try to ruin businesses and just be a jerk. And then he throws out like 8 or 10 lobsters at the end. It's the worst part of human beings. And he filmed it and then proudly presented it like he's a good guy.
It's really a gross video, but I think he got exactly what he wanted. Everybody was talking about it. His video was shared everywhere. Any publicity is good publicity. I don't know, but he certainly was going for that. And, the rule is take 1 lobster per trip or per plate. And so he would just keep going back and getting them so he could stack them up and then take his video. And yeah, fighting with the staff. And even at the end of this video, it's very quick, but he goes into the back in the kitchen and you can hear the employees screaming at him that he's not allowed back there when he throws away the lobsters. So he's even going in areas like, why treat people like this on top of wasting all this food and everything. Just be a better human being. Like, we can all be a little bit better. And you have a following of millions of people, and you could use that for something better, more positive, and still show off the food and everything else. That's the real sad part, is you have this ability to reach a ton of people.
Yeah, if you want to get a whole bunch of lobster and do a cool video, go to Golden Steer, spend the $1,000, do it right, and you get that whole tray, plate, cart, whatever we showed of lobster with it. Do that instead of, do it on the cheap. What do you pay, like $89, and you go get all these lobsters? And please, these people that are like fake reviewers of food, stop dunking crap in butter like that. It's disgusting. It's gross. I hate when they like dip it with their hands and then like take a big bite out of it. It's just, I hate so much about this video, everything.
I mean, he's not lying. He was so triggered by this. It was hilarious. Some behind the scenes there. But let's move on to brighter notes. The most photographed restaurants. Yelp actually just put out a list of the most photographed restaurants for 2024 so far. And there are 4 on the list from Vegas. And there's some surprising ones. Number 3 on the list is Hell's Kitchen. Number 5, the Bacchanal Buffet. But number 11 is Zippy's. That's the Hawaiian chain that just opened up a store here recently. Huge news for Hawaiians, and I've been meaning to get over there. And then Mijo Modern Mexican Restaurant at Durango coming in at number 13. What a surprise there.
Yeah, I mean, that place looks really cool. When we walked by, it looked cool. And the pictures when you see inside of it look pretty amazing. I was surprised that a fast food chain made it on there, but maybe just because it's so unique to the area and kind of like the first one over here. And plus, anything new gets skewed a little bit more, where it's more impressive for Hell's Kitchen or Bacchanal to be on there because they've been around. It's not like everybody's rushing there because they just opened like a Durango. A lot of people are going to the casino just to check it out, so they're already there kind of thing. So I get that. I'm surprised Golden Tiki didn't make it. That should have been on there. That should have been number 1, right? The coolest picture place ever in Vegas.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, just the whole place. Yeah.
As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show. I imagine this week it'll be 30 minutes of Mark complaining about the lobster guy. We'll see. But patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the information. It's a fun show. We do it every week. Love to have you guys join us over there. And thanks to everybody for their support. So our buddies, Tim and Matt Travel, have been in town from the UK, and they tagged us in this picture of the backside of Park MGM, where some of the Monte Carlo lives on. And I wanted to cover this because it's a reminder that there are some areas, and I thought about doing a video about this because there's quite a few places that you could show where you could see some areas of old Vegas that sort of live on. And you can see the Monte Carlo architecture here, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think if you loved the Monte Carlo, it's kind of cool to see a little bit of it. And I understand why they would leave it. It's like the backside. Why would you spend money updating all of that? So, but I think it's also kind of like an Easter egg for Vegas lovers out there. And I always had a soft spot for Monte Carlo. There was nothing really overly special about it. So I don't know why, but I had a lot of good memories, early on in my trips to Vegas of going there and eating there. And I always liked a couple of the restaurants they had on site. And I love Park and what it's like. And we've talked about how much we like Nomad in there and how it's kind of unique there, even though we're going to be losing it in a little bit. I've always just had a soft spot. So it was cool to see when it popped up on Twitter and get a little bit of that.
Another quick story, Fontainebleau is getting these mini blue craps tables out by the pool area, or at least one of them. And it looks great. I love this color. This color is great. I don't know what else to say. It's a mini craps table out by the pool, but that baby blue is spectacular.
Yeah, I love it a lot. Whenever there's pool gambling, I think it's, interesting, a different take on things or a different environment. I love sitting out by Golden Nugget, out by the pool, playing blackjack there. So I think this will be really cool. It's just always, how often do they staff it? How often is it open? But I love the look of this. And this is kind of like what we had originally hoped Fontainebleau leaned into a bit more like the Miami Vice type feel and color scheme and all that. And they went high-end luxury Miami. But I think this would have been cool throughout the whole property.
Another quick story over to Virgin Hotels. And there's good news for people who didn't love the Hudsons. Apparently, they're doing some renovations. There is still a Hudson in the place, but the main Hudson gift shop, airport shop, whatever, is now closed behind construction walls, as is the ice cream place, Afters, that I talked about on a show not too long ago, which had good ice cream, but we don't really know what's replacing it. I don't know if they've announced it yet, but there are construction walls there, and they are gone.
See, Shawn, you killed it. You killed the ice cream.
That was a particularly bad one because there's another one on the other end, kind of closer to the tower, and it maybe makes more sense as a gift shop. This was sort of very visible from the casino floor. Didn't look good there, kind of with stark contrast with everything. So maybe they'll put in something that fits the vibe of everything. And we'll probably see more changes as the casino changes over to in-house management and they sort of get everything under one roof.
Do you think the airport-looking Dunkin' lives on? You think it makes it?
I think it does because I think it was just past where the ice cream was. So I think the walls don't extend there. Thanks to Cinnamon Girl for sending that over. And then also Vital Vegas covered it as well. But I'll get over there and see. But I do think the Dunkin' does live on. Good news.
All right, good. I got those credits I got to burn.
All right. So talking about insane prices for tickets, this week we saw a look at the Wynn Field Club as the Raiders had their preseason game. And the Wynn Field Club is a super unique place because you can kind of be down on the field. It's a very VIP thing, expensive tickets. This is really for the bougie crowd, I would say. Let's start here. We got to look at a $5,000 seat and what it gets you as far as a view, and that's not much.
No, it's like you're sitting at a couch, adjacent to the bathrooms. It seems like the worst seat in the house. And I know, football, NFL is always more expensive than baseball, but we had like a similar cabana for a meetup once at the Rockies game, and it was way less expensive, and you could get like 40 people in there. So I think it was like 1,000, 1,500, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was pretty affordable. You didn't have a view of the game, but you could had a place to hang out as a group. Then you can walk around the stadium. So this doesn't really, fit into that. You have this small little sectional couch that you can hang out on for $5,000, and it's preseason too. It's crazy.
Now this is the Field Club, so I don't know how close to the field you can go because I know there are seats down there, but maybe you have to have a reserved seat. I'm not quite sure on the rules there. We also saw the prices for what they're charging. I actually thought the food prices weren't out of this realm, especially for a Raiders game. A lot of people complaining about the bottle service prices. Again, this is a very unique setting and it's in a stadium that's notoriously expensive as it is. You're looking at like $800 for a bottle of Bacardi rum, goes way up from there, all kinds of crazy prices. But again, I don't think it's out of the realm for the people that are going to go do this. So it didn't bother me as much. And I think other places in Vegas with these high-end bottle services are pretty similar in pricing.
Yeah, I think it's in line with all the day clubs and stuff we've seen. And we've talked about receipts previously on the show of how much they charge for bottles and how ridiculous it is. And I don't know how you can justify that type of markup, a $20 bottle for $800, but they get it. People pay for it. I'm sure a lot of this is corporate stuff. One would be casinos buying them up and giving them to high rollers. Another would be just anybody that has a business in Vegas or is visiting Vegas type of thing, and they have those expense accounts. I think that's where a lot of this money goes. It's not for the you and me of the world, just like a random group of 4 guys going in there. For the most part, I don't think that's how it plays out.
Totally agree. I think this seemed fine to me. It didn't seem over the top. This isn't something I'm going to go do. But, for the people that are in that realm, it is a unique experience. And it's very unique to be in that field club, to be close to the field in the way that they do it. And it has the Wynn name too. So, it's going to be expensive anyway. So it's nice to see that behind the scenes look, how the other side lives. But let's move on to Resorts World and this crazy complaint from the Nevada Gaming Control Board. This is insane. It's 31 pages. You can read through it. I'm going to try to summarize it really quickly. But the gist is that the Resorts World Anti-Money Laundering Board, the executives there, systematically allowed people that they knew had ties to illegal gambling operations and other sort of illegal activities to gamble millions of dollars through their casinos over the course of a couple years. And several people, this isn't just one person, this is tens of millions of dollars in gambling. They lay out their sort of thing. One of the gamblers even had his wife employed as a host and his host so that his wife was getting a cutback of the money. They allege that Resorts World didn't do any effort to sort of source the funds like they're supposed to. They denied credit to one of these gamblers because they couldn't figure out source of funds. And then they later gave him credit. And again, tens of millions of dollars. This is really shocking when you look at it. And it's hard to defend this, to say that they didn't do it on purpose. All of these executives got bonused based on the spend. And I'm sure with millions of dollars coming in, they did pretty well. And what could the punishment be? That's the big question. They could get fines, but Genting could really lose their license for this. I doubt that happens, but it certainly could.
That would be kind of just so unique and unheard of. And it'd be shocking if they did pull the license. I can't hate on the person for double dipping. If you can get a little cutback for your cutting your wife in there, I think that's good business sense. But no, I mean, this is what we've seen from them previously. We talked about, what was it last year that, a higher up executive got busted for not overseeing this properly. So maybe that they were put him out there to be slaughtered, hoping that stopped people from looking deeper. and that caused people. Maybe he wasn't the problem totally, and it's just a company wide issue, or maybe he was the, the head of the snake, and it kind of all filtered down from there, and they just kept doing it. But it is crazy to see. And when we talked about that story, we realized, how much they have to go. If somebody's bringing in big money, you have to inspect it at least, or figure out where it's coming from and make sure it's not something illegal or money laundering or some shady person. You have to do your due diligence, and it looks like they purposely did not. So it's going to be bad for them, I think, long term.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. I think for the executives, it's going to be a huge fine. I think that if they don't lose their license, which again, I don't think they will, I think they're going to get a huge fine, though, and a big warning to say Nevada does not want money laundering, does not want illegal activities. Getting a gaming license is a privilege. In fact, they even use the word privileged gaming license in the complaint. And they want to send a message here that this isn't allowed. Of course, why would you need for money laundering? Once the money comes back out of the casino, it's clean. And that's really the issue. So you have to find out where the money comes from. And then if you have a spouse that's getting a kickback on it, that's, they're going to lose money, right? They're going to lose money in the casino. So if they're playing tens of millions of dollars and losing, a million or hundreds of thousands, that's the cost of doing business. But when they cash out, that money is now clean. And then on top of it, to have this conflict of interest with the host being the spouse of one of these people. Some of the hosts even referred other players to this one guy who allegedly ran an illegal bookkeeping operation. This is just nuts. It's hard to boil this all down. I highly suggest reading this. Your jaw will hit the floor as you say. It's just, I can't believe that this actually happened. And it wasn't for a month or 2 months. This went on for years.
Yeah, and how much is this going to affect their bottom line overall? Not even the fine or anything, but now that they have to proactively keep these people out, how much was that driving for them? We've talked about how their hotel has always been pretty busy compared to what we had expected. The numbers were pretty good and high occupancy rate, but the gambling, it never seemed all that busy. So maybe they needed this to kind of keep their gambling numbers up. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it was just greed trying to get your bonuses, or if they needed it as a whole to bring the gamblers in.
Yeah, this is not a story that's going to end soon. We'll kind of follow through with this, and it's just bad news. You wonder how much the parent company Genting knew about this. Was it the local executives? Were they turning their back? They're obviously based in Malaysia, so not a U.S. company like some of the other ones. Hilton being a partner, not that they have anything to do with the casino, but I'm sure they don't like the look of this and this international sort of news breaking in this story. So a lot of changes probably happening. I imagine every single executive that even remotely had a hand in this is going to be gone or is gone already. And they have to clean house. They have to bring in new people and, start this thing over and rebuild the reputation, I think. And I think if they do that, they'll probably be okay. I don't think the average sort of person visiting there cares that much about this, but, you should care, because this is how Las Vegas built its reputation as a safe, reliable place to gamble, is because there's laws, there's regulations, there's things you have to follow. And that's why, the machines in the casinos are going to pay out a certain much. That you're going to get paid out when you need to. This whole system helped build Las Vegas into what it is today. And that's why it's so important, not to mention the anti-money laundering laws and all of that stuff. But yeah, I was shocked. I think everybody was shocked. And so let us know what you guys think about that. The lobster guy, most photographed restaurants, that baby blue craps table at Fontainebleau. We've talked about so much. So let us know about what you think about any of it down in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.